back, Sim Race fans, for another edition of the Full Throttle Sim Racing Series, presented by Mach1 Performance. This time for the Cup Series, as the last series in the week 2 try to tackle the tricky triangle. We're set up for 80 laps here tonight and a partly cloudy racetrack. Not as hot as what we've seen previous. 99 degrees on the track, 78 in the air. And 19 guys are looking to take time here to settle it out for the victory at Pocono. My name is Jay Stain, of course, and to my right-hand man in this case, Mr. Ballistic, Dustin Loxton. How's it going?
Not too bad. Looking to see what these boys can't put down here at the Tricky Triangle. Sim Racing Points Truck Series put on an excellent show last Wednesday here. Did not disappoint, and I would expect nothing less tonight.
No, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It definitely put on a great race, and you know, I raced the ARCA race as well and did a pretty fantastic job, I would say. Everybody did for the most part. So looking for this Cup guys to tackle this thing. There's some changes up in the field, Dustin. There's no Nicholas Moreau, who is, as we know by now, you've dubbed him recently as Rocket Man Moreau. He is 7 for 7 on the poles. No one else has taken a pole, but he is not in the server tonight, guys. So that's going to be the first time pole winner. At least somebody else will take that throne. Let's see what they can't do, as the 15 is not going to make it this evening. Yeah,
and like I said, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing because he, I mean, that was a long-running record since the start of the season, was 7 straight poles. I mean, he was definitely putting down some heaters. And was running good, too, as far as points. So, I mean, the good thing is Full Throttle Sim Racing does allow for provisional points usage. I would be led to believe that tonight is definitely probably going to be one of his provisional usage for tonight. So he's not going to lose as many points, but we've seen what happened with Richie Coy when he took that vacation with the family. Even though he used provisionals, as close as these point battles are, Jeremy, it's still detrimental there. He's still going to have a little bit of work to dig out. But I mean, really, you talk about Moreau Motorsports as a whole. Looking at it, they only got one driver out there on the track, which is not common for them either. They're usually out in full force, usually 3 to 4.
Yeah, typically, and right now, Mr. Vachon. Matthew Vachon, that is, the only Lone Ranger out there from Motorsports, currently sitting P3 on the charts. So he's the Lone Ranger to try to hold up this team to see if they can't bring them to victory here at Pocono. And you mentioned the points too. Pretty strong points battle. Moreau came in here -9 off your newly reclaimed lead, Mr. Richie Coy, who gave up that lead last week when he went on that vacation, or 2 weeks rather. Then he came back last week, got his points back, and now 3 points over Chuck Sweeting, who's in second. Moreau, you say he's going to get that provisional. It's going to put him back in 20th place. So it should drop him down to about 30 points out or so. We'll have to see what the official results look like there. But coming up with 6 to go after this race, or 5 to go rather after this race. That's a tall order there, 30 points in 5 races.
Oh, absolutely. It's a tall order. I mean, especially when you're looking at what the season finale is going to be. I mean, anybody that's trying to go for this points championship is going to want to make sure that they are on point and have as much of a cushion as possible, because that season finale is at Daytona. And Jeremy, anything could happen at Daytona. We're all fully aware of that. And everything's on luck's whim at that point in time. So essentially, he's got 5 races to try to dig back out of that roughly 20 to 30 point gap that he'll be set in. So that's a tall order. I mean, if anybody can do it, Nicholas Moreau is definitely a driver that is more than capable of being able to do that, but it's still a tall order.
That's definitely a strong point there. It's a 13 race schedule, but it's really 12. And then 13, that's their last one. That's your Daytona. That's your wild card. So you really kind of set yourself up for the first 12 races to make race 13 a little more comfortable. At Daytona, end of the race or end of the season, who knows what can happen, right? You could see everyone rack out on lap 2 and bring out some new guy who's like, hey, look, thank you for the gift, that kind of thing. So definitely we'll be curious to see how Richie Coy and these guys kind of figure out the points heading into Daytona.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, like I said, the points battle is close, as you had stated earlier. It's definitely a very close points battle, and it's I would be led to believe, Jeremy, that it's going to maintain and stay like that all the way up till Daytona. I don't see it being like last season where we had a clear champion crowned 2 races before the end. I feel it's going to come up to that last race.
100%. We'll have to see. But this time qualifying is up. That means the Martin Sports Pre-Race Show is over. Time to start thanking our sponsors to allow us to do this every Monday and Wednesday for the Full Throttle Sim Racing League. First and foremost, the league themselves over at FTSR.net. Appreciate you guys for letting us do this for you 2 nights a week, Monday and Wednesday. If you have not registered yet, we've seen a couple new faces pop up, here and there, but we need to see more. Head over to FTSR.net. They have 4 different series across the board, really, as far as what you want. 2 free, 2 paid. So, their options here is FTSR.net. Mach1 Performance, sponsor for the Cup Series every Monday night here at Full Throttle. And it's a race fabrication shop that's produced champions from the STCA and NASA from dirt and pavement oval racing. So if your car is near a Mach1 Performance shop and looking for some fabrication work, head over to facebook.com/Mach1 Performance and see what they can't do for your race car today. Sim Racing Points, the Wednesday Series Truck Series sponsor, and partnered up with the Nerds as well. If you want your league to look professional on the website standard, this is your place to go for sure. SimRacingPoints.com gives you plethora of options. If you want a display of what they actually do, you can go to the FTSR.net webpage and see all the stats, all the standings, all the drivers, all the pages that they have for the series. That's run by Sim Racing Points. That's a plethora, like I said, of different options to keep your league looking great. And it's full page and it's widgets. So it's, the best of both worlds. Once again, simracingpoints.com. Thank you to Martin Sports, the official apparel partner for the Nerditudes. They make customized t-shirts, hoodies, hats. They got gloves, which are the best in all of sim racing. Gives them much needed grip in your hand, and it keeps your hands super dry. So if you're sweaty like me after a 2-hour event, don't worry about it. These things got you covered. They're going to give you grip the entire race. So if you're looking to pick up a set of gloves or anything else, martinsports906.com, Super Nerd at checkout for 25% off. Thank you to iRacing iFlag, the flag partner for the Nerditudes. It's a 64 LED system, sits on your desk and gives you up to 30 different iRacing commands and notifications, like all flags and most of your spotter coverages are all displayed for you in a bright setup. Doesn't take up much space on the desk either, so it really kind of completes the sim rig as far as the light system that you would see on all the catch fin stuff here on these NASCAR ovals. If you want something like that, head over to iRacingIFlag.com, Super Nerd at checkout. This time, 15% off. Thank you to the Butt Kicker for the audio enhancement partner for the Nerditudes. It's more than just audio. It gives you the audio feedback. It also gives you all the bumps and feels from the track. So it kind of just really brings your sim rig onto the actual racetrack. So if you're a real racer out there and you want that feel in your seat, this is your place to go. Go to thebuttkicker.com. Super Nerd at checkout, 20% off. Thank you to Moonlight Speed Concepts, the official paved setup partner for the Nerditudes. If you drive the Advanced Legends all the way up to the Next Gen Cup cars, this is your shop to go to as far as getting the best of the best setups on the market. So head over to moonlightspeed.com. You can join their Discord or their Twitter. And these guys, they update their setups a couple times a week. And you can have multiple different ways to purchase them. You can do it bi-weekly, you can do it by track, or you can do it by the entire season. So whatever your bank account fits, they got you covered. Once again, moonlightspeed.com. Then houseofspeed.us. This is everything dirt oval related. So if you're looking for some professional setups, that's going to get you wins no matter what kind of racing surface you're racing on, whether it be the tacky stuff at the beginning of the race or the slick, loose stuff there at the end of the race in dirt. These guys got you covered. houseofspeed.us. And then lastly, Nerd Focus, the think drink that helps the nerds get the job done. Every night we're needing a little bit of an assistance. You head over to nerdfocus.com. And that green text, once again, Super Nerd, is going to get you 10% off anything that you purchase, aka 2 flavors, green or blue, depends on if you want sugar or sugar-free. and it's an awesome flavored drink. All right, Dustin, got about 19 seconds, it looks like, left in this qualifying session. So things are basically wrapped up. We got 18 or 17 cars taking time. If you want to go down that starting order for us.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Jeremy. You got to wait for the qualifying to actually officially end. But that's
There
all
it
right.
is.
There it is. All right. So starting on the pole, held it for a while was Matthew Vachon. But got knocked off late in the qualifying run. Chuck Sweeting will be starting on your pole. Outside front row will be Matthew Vachon, trying to pick up where his team owner left off with a strong qualifying run. James Wallace with another solid qualifying run. Look for him to really excel today as well. He did very well in the Truck Series event here last Wednesday. He'll be starting third. Tony Solari with an excellent qualifying run in the top 5, starting P4. Brody Hanna, Tony Solari's Fury Motorsport teammate, starts in 5th, and the third Fury Motorsport driver, Richie Coy, starts 6th. Stephen Lou Allen starts 7th in that 24. Brian Dublé starts 8th. Jonathan Varnaskis starts 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is Ryan Hedrick.
11th place, you're going to find that 33 of Sherwood Williford. 12th place, Wayne Grossi. 13th place on the next row is Chris Beck, and then to his outside in 14th. You're going to find Joshua Johnson. Starting at 15th, Martin Garreau. 16th place, Chad Lang. 17th, Josh Mayu. And then the last 3 guys to not qualify is going to be Nicholas Moreau, which he did pop in, I think. Forgot the way. It's not on the track just yet. And then Brian Bliss and Steve Loomis rounds out the field. And Dustin, if the 18 has anything like he does in the real world, hopefully he's removed that 12/1000th of an inch tape off that front fascia to keep that advantage not in his favor.
Yeah, and we did get a chat out as well. In the chat, Nicholas Moreau said, I'm just right back from racetrack practicing for our next event. Real life took him away today, unfortunately, so that's why he was not here. But again, excellent qualifying run by his teammate of Matthew Vachon. Should be an excellent one here, Jeremy. Like I said, a lot of these drivers did get a lot of practice time in the trucks, which I understand trucks in these cup cars are very different. But there is some notes that they can transfer over. They did get some track time, so should be a very good event that we have lined up tonight, Jeremy.
That 15 did make it to the track within just a hair before the time went to 0 when these guys started rolling away. The number 15, Nicholas Moreau, has made it. He's going to be starting in 18th place. First time we get to see him go through the field, as he is qualified first, as we mentioned time and time again. Starting in first place, so he has no idea what traffic looks like on the start of a race, at least this season at FTSR. So I'll be definitely keeping my eyes on that 15.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be a good one, as obviously our drone camera decides it wants to go through the foliage there, so kind of interesting little shot. But you know what? Either way, still a pretty good one. Hell of a pilot there, whoever's doing that. But yeah, it should be a good one. Nonetheless, going to be interesting to see him hit his way through the field. One thing he's got to look out for, though, is going to be that tire wear. This track can be brutal on tires, especially with 3 different corners, 3 different length straightaways. And you will see these guys going from top to bottom, Indianapolis style, down these straightaways. So it should be an interesting one, Jeremy.
Really interested to see what that drone looks like at the end of the race here with how much damage it took from the trees. We'll find out, though, in 80 laps as Chuck Sweeting is ready for the green flag. Green flag is officially out. This race is underway. 75 with a pretty good start there. Moreau Motorsports in that 26th. Matthew Vachon gets a pretty good start as well. And James Wallace looking early to the inside. Wants to force the issue, but does not. The 75 closes that door early as he takes sole possession of the lead right now.
Yeah, sole possession of the lead does Chuck Sweeting have, but right now the battle is for that second. Matthew Vachon in that 26 is going to power by on the outside over that 67 of James Wallace. So right now your top 3 now nose to tail. That 26 now really starting to put some pressure on the back end of the 75.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good car right there. A little slip up there in turn 2, which As I notated on Wednesday, if you caught our Wednesday broadcast, turn 2 is that tricky corner. Turn 1 and turn 3, it's more the rhythm. You got a lot longer corner. It widens out, kind of, set yourself up. Turn 2, you have to kind of hit that corner perfect on entry or it really messes up the exit. There's a bump there on the bottom at the yellow line. And if you try to overdrive the entrance in that quick turn 2, that outside wall there just kind of eats you up.
Yeah, as you were talking there, it took them a little bit, but they finally started cycling it out just a hair. But there's still a heck of a battle here from about 8th place on. These guys are 2 by 2 all the way back, still trying to cycle through, Jeremy, trying to find their line. But as you were talking about, that's where they want to try to get in line. That tricky corner number 2, they got to be careful with it. Usually going in side by side typically it's a tough cookie to swallow. Especially if you're on that outside or inside trying to stay pinned down or trying to stay off that wall. So you usually see these drivers really try to get lined up prior to going into that number 2 turn.
Yeah, and you saw the 33. I don't know if you caught that, but 23 really checks up on exit 3 and is going to lose quite a few spots here down their longest straightaway in NASCAR. Now the 33 in turn number 2 missed the entrance of the corner, overshot the bottom half of the corner, really had a choke up, lost 2 spots because of that as he fights the number 7. But the 23 still losing ground here on the top as the number 4 goes around, and also the 47 Ryan Hendrick.
Yeah, as they go around here, like I said, it's a tough choke point, Jeremy. I mean, the driver's got to be careful with that, and it's super easy to lose ground on this track, to lose position and lose ground, and it seems like it is so hard to try to gain it back up. Draft does play a factor in this, but I mean, the speeds that these guys are carrying down and the closing rate on these next-gen cars, it's hard to sit here and try to get that pass set up prior to the next corner.
Yeah, it really can be a difficult task here, especially turn 2. If you got an awesome run, it's hard to run that corner side by side and keep guys speed up. So if you're trying to advance to overall, you kind of have to play the patient game a little bit. You see a little side-by-side action here down the front stretch heading into turn number 1. Almost looking 3 wide there from it, but the 57 really kind of extends that corner out to allow that to happen as they single file back out. New colors, by the way, on that 18, Mr. Brian Bliss. Sports Smithfield Bacon.
Gotta love that bacon. I tell you what, it's I love seeing some of these paint jobs that these drivers put out here. They always put out some good paint jobs, and it's always good to see Amarillo getting some much deserved love out there too. He just does. And a little bit of 3 wide right there is Garreau. It goes on the high side of Johnson, and Bliss goes on the low side. It's a good thing that they cycled that out because these corners can be very, very tight. Like you said, that 1 and 3 is more of a rhythm corner. But, I mean, 2 wide and even pushing it 3 wide is usually pretty tough. As we got almost another 3 wide action here. You got the 44 in the middle with Josh Mayhew and Josh Johnson on either side. But as you see right there, drift up there a little bit on that. And that's what we were talking about. You got to be careful on that. Both drivers still going. But that slowed him down big time, Jeremy.
44 made contact with the 57 twice that corner and still somehow are still neck and neck entering turn number 2. Let's see who wins this one. The 57 goes really wide, gives it up. The 44 takes that no problem. 57 last time in turn number 2 had a brake check from the 37, had a backup, and that's why he put himself in that 3 wide heading on the front stretch last lap, which ended up in him almost wrecking in the following corner. So one little mistake, a mile and a half away, kind of affects your race sometimes. We almost saw that there last lap.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much, Jeremy. It really doesn't. As we're on board right now with Chuck Sweeting here, as we were watching all the action back there, we're going to sit here and swing the cameras back up to the front of the race, see how things are going up here. Right now, Chuck has got himself a little bit of a comfortable lead right now, a little bit of breathing room, just a hair over 0.3 of a second over the 26 of Matthew Vachon as we are looking back. But right now, Jeremy, those top 5 are pretty close right now. I mean, they're all right in the same shot.
They really are. And that 67, James Walsh, by the way, led the fastest lap in the race last lap. 5 laps in, he's running the fastest lap right now. So watch out for that 67. I noticed in the ARCA race this past Thursday that the people with the long run cars that you typically see aren't really shining so much here. It's been a little bit different situation. That's also because this track is very different than any other track on the circuit. So expect to see some names out here pulling a little bit faster laps than you typically would early on. We know that 67, Mr. Wallace, has been pretty good, but see him inside the top 3 early on to this race, showing some confidence in that car.
Yeah, he's picking up right where he left off from last Wednesday in the Truck Series, where he just missed finishing in the top 3 podium in the Truck Series race. So, picking up right where he left off, like you said, and it's always good to see Matthew Vachon up there doing very well, as he's getting a lot of pressure right now from the 67. James Wallace really trying to look on that inside, trying to make that pass on it. But like I said, I mean, these drivers up in the top 5, top 6, I mean, they are all pretty darn close. As you look off the back of James Wallace, you're looking back at Richie Fury Motorsports teammates Richie Coy and Tony Solari right back there as well.
Richie Coy also running some pretty fast times, actually matched the 67's lap time a lap prior on lap number 4. So that 19's making some moves, and he was one of the guys that kind of surprised me, Dustin. He had a really fast car, top 3, top 4 for sure, but the long run just wasn't there as some other people's was. So it looks like the 19 so far through 8 laps in this Cup Series event at Pocono, simulated Pocono, that is. The 19's actually looking stout. I think he kind of figured out, I think his kryptonite was turn 2. I think everywhere else 1 and 3, he nailed it perfectly in the ARCA race and even in the trucks and whatnot. But when it comes to turn number 2, It looks like he has things kind of figured out there.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off on that. Tony Solari come off of the turn 3 corner there and wall slapped it pretty good. Slowed him up a little bit. Not sure if that's going to affect that car damage-wise. I mean, from the camera angles, doesn't appear like there's much damage there. But, Jeremy, you know as well as I that, I mean, these bodies can take a pounding, but the components underneath the body, they tend to break pretty easy.
Yeah, the body's actually like just for a comparison, it's like a stainless steel body, and then the internals of the car are basically like toothpicks, I would say, to say the least. They're not very durable. I was looking for paper clip to keep it metal, but I want to go with toothpicks. They're just so brittle. So when you hit these walls, even though the car can look just fine, you got to worry about your toe being knocked out. You got to be worried about your steering nut rack and pinion setup. There's more components that are a little bit smaller. So when you have smaller components, typically that means, not so durable. So, and iRacing does a pretty good job, Dustin, at simulating that to this point when they brought on the new damage model to these things about a month ago or so. We have seen it time and time again. I think they started it back in Sonoma. We saw quite a few tires come disconnected. It's a required 10 to 16 minute pit stop just to get one tire back up and running on the car. So Tony Solari, I'm sure getting a little feel for that early on.
Yeah, and that's not the kind of feel you want to get early on in the race. I mean, we got 80 laps is the distance for tonight's event. We are already 10 laps into that event, Jeremy. So, I mean, at the rate that these guys are going, they're clipping them off pretty good. And by pretty good, this is a big track, folks, a big track. So, by clipping them off pretty good, I mean, they're still pulling just shy of a minute laps coming around here, right around 50, about 53 second laps, 53 to 55. So, I mean, it's still a pretty decent amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're actually looking at the leaders here, or we were looking at the leaders, but pretty good battle outside of Chuck Sweeting. He's running a little bit slower times than what he was, and also in comparison to the guys second, third, and fourth place. Richie Coy moves himself up to third place as he passes the number 26 of Vachon. Now he's got his eyes set on that 67 of James Wallace. So these guys are looking a little faster overall than Chuck Sweeting, especially in turn 3 here. They kind of get a little closer there, and they got that long straightaway in front of them now for that draft. So as long as they can avoid like Solari, I think these guys are going to be there in a matter of about 5 laps or so, just based off of what Chuck Sweeting's times are looking like. So top 4 looking pretty good.
Yeah, and the thing with this track, Jeremy, is you know as well as I do that, this track here is probably one of the hardest ones to build a setup for and to prep, because you got 3 different length of straightaways, you got 3 completely different corners. You can't find a car that's 100% neutral. all the way around to exactly your liking. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to give it in one corner or the other. And typically, I mean, you build it for, a couple corners, but you're not going to hit all of it. The way that Chuck Sweeting is going through turn 3 right now, it looks like he has a hard time bringing that car down going through, as he's running a full lane up, and he is losing so much speed scrubbing it off there. As you see, James Wallace really picks up and closes in on him, and it's at turn 3 that's getting him. It's at the James Wallace and Richie Coy seem like they have an easier time and more rotation in their car to keep it down, as right now James Wallace going on the inside for a pass for the lead.
As I kind of mentioned earlier, the people that usually have a good long run car aren't really showing it, and right now Chuck Sweeting is one of those guys, as he is now under pressure for the lead for the first potential lead change this evening, as that number 67 of James Wallace is trying to go through this tricky turn number 2 side by side with the race leader. This is going to be great news for the 19 and 26, as they're really going to close in on here, because you cannot go side by side uncompetitively through that corner. As they head off into turn number 3, Richie Coy was 5 car lengths back. Now he is nose to tail with these guys, as an awesome 3-car battle, actually 4-car battle now is underway.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised Chuck Sweeting got a great run coming out of turn 3. It looked like James Wallace had to back out of the throttle there trying to keep it down, and that allowed the 19er Richie Coy to get by him, pushing him back to third. Now Richie Coy is going after Chuck Sweeting. So again, the Richie and Chuck show once again, and it only took him 14 laps, Jeremy.
Only 14 laps. That's, it's always expected to see the 19 and 75 do something with each other unless one of them take a week off. And right now you're seeing it here, only about a fifth of the way through this race or so, even a fourth of the way. And I expect to see them to probably hash it out the rest of the night. But the 67 is making a great run on the 19 there, which I mentioned earlier as well. But 19 not a favor or a fan of turn number 2. And I thought he had settled it out, but as his tires wear in a little bit, he's starting to slack a little bit in turn number 2. Saw that 67 make a good run, but you just can't make that pass there in the inside lane of turn number 2. It's just so tricky. You lose so much ground on everybody else. So you have to be patient, and you have to get a really good solid 1 or 3 to make a pass happen.
Yeah, and the way, you just look at the 67 of James Wallace. That's where he's getting Richie Coy, is on that corner entry. He's got a more aggressive approach on that corner entry, and he allows it to carry that, as he's all over the back end of that 19 of Richie Coy, going down that first straightaway there, off into turn number 2 as they're going through right now. You see him back off and give a little bit of room, not to put a lot of pressure on it. Now, I would expect that to change later in the race, but veteran moves by a lot of these drivers, no point in really pushing the issue. But look at that corner entry the 67 gets. That's where he closes it up. But right now, it's the corner exit of 3 that is really crippling that 67 right now. That's where he lost that second place to Richie Coy just 3 laps ago.
It almost looks like the 67 is getting a little center tight in turn 3, and so he's unable to get the throttle down. And then when you see him come off the corner exit, he gives a lot of space between himself and that wall, which is not capitalizing on all that exit speed that he can be finding. I guess if you're tight in the center, you're hesitant on getting on the throttle so you don't hit the wall off the exit of the corner. So it's kind of prohibiting him. But you see him entering turn number 2 right now. It looked like he did a pretty good job last time. He didn't go side by side. He actually bumped the 19 right before turn number 2. It really closed him up with the 75 and the 19, which was a smart move considering 2 laps prior he learned the hard way of what not to do through that corner. But these guys right now, let's see if he can get a good exit this time. And that 67, much better exit that time around. He's going to maintain and actually be a little faster than Richie through the turn number 3. But for some reason, those 2 guys, him and the 75, just cannot find the rumble strip there, and they have to run the second groove.
Yeah, as we have the 15 and Nicholas Moreau, looks like he did pull it in the pits, and he pulled it in the pits hard, Jeremy, as his car vanished and reappeared right in the pit stall, and that's never a good sign. But as we were talking about, we're going to go through the field a little bit here. We've been talking about these top 3. You see that battle is really heating up, both Richie Coy and James Wallace. They are closing in on the 75 of Chuck Sweeting right now. So that is your battle for your top spot. That is your top 3, Sweeting, Coy, and Wallace. Matthew Vachon has fallen back to fourth place since his second place start on the field right now in 17 laps. Is wicked loose off turn 3. Let's not count that towards the broadcaster's curse on that one. Excellent save, though. Way to wrangle that thing around. But has only fallen back 2 spots to fourth. Stephen Lou Allen has jumped up 2 spots from his 7th place start to round out the top 5 right now. Solid run by that 24 team as he is currently en route to try to track down and pass that 26 for that 4th position. Sherwood Williford up 5 spots from his initial starting spot, now currently residing in 6th place. He's got a little bit of a cushion between himself and that man in 7th place, Mr. Ryan Hedrick. Both those drivers have been running a clean race. Ryan Hedrick up 3 spots from his starting spot. Now one of the biggest hits so far since the start of the race, Tony Solari down 4 spots, started in 4th place, now sitting in 8th, and looks like he might be coming under attack a little bit from the 2 drivers behind him, rounding out that top 10, that being Jonathan Varanaskis and Wayne Grossi. You see Wayne Grossi take an evasive maneuver coming off of turn 4 there, and that is your top 10, Jeremy.
Yeah, that is your top 10 follow through, presented by Nerd TV. And yeah, excellent save there by the 26. As you mentioned, nothing about broadcaster's curse. I think that's just solely his car not liking the long run. As you were going through 7th and 8th place off of turn number 3, the 24 got really close to the rear bumper. That 26 got him loose once again. Excellent save twice in 2 laps there by that 26. That 24 to get past him, no problem. That's going to move Mr. Stephen Lou Allen to 4th place, which he hasn't had a really good run since, I think, early to mid last season in 2022A. He's been kind of at a low point and having some really good runs in some races. Kind of a midfielder at the moment. But right now at Pocono, he's showing some really good strength here. Only 2 seconds out of your leader in 4th place.
Yeah, definitely has a long run set there. His car definitely seems like it's more neutral handling as this run progresses on, which is great. While we were going through the field, through our top 10 there, James Wallace did make a pass on the 19 of Richie Coy, moving Wallace back into 2nd. So now James Wallace is trying to hunt down the 75 of Richie Coy, or the 75 of Chuck Sweeting. My goodness, I'm getting my drivers and numbers mixed up. Good gravy. You think this is my first time doing it, Jeremy? But, yeah, took over that 2nd position again. And right now they're starting to put a little bit of distance between those 2 drivers and the 19 of Richie Coy. So I would be a safe bet, Jeremy, that come first pit stops, and as it could be green flag pit stops. There's going to be some adjustments being made on a couple cars here, because I'm seeing some cars that are not handling to the liking of their drivers.
Yeah, it really shows that it's going to be, at least in this direction right now, we're going to see some green flag pit stops. There might be 2 sets of green flag stops, too. I'm not sure if they can run 40 laps on a tank of gas at this massive track, so curious to know how that plays out as well. As we all know at this point, my playbook does not even find the desk. I'll let you make that call, because I think you were pretty spot on a couple weeks ago. But that 67 is showing some really strong speed right now, up to about 1 car length away from that 75 up to this point, has led the way through 21 laps.
Yeah, he's definitely got his target set on that blue and black and white 75 of Chuck Sweeting. Definitely moving through. I would expect, I don't believe that these cars can make it that far on gas. I would expect pit stops probably in the next 10 laps or so. As far as solid pit stops, you see right now Matthew Vachon, I was just getting ready to mention that he was falling back, his car not handling to the liking of where he started at. Has hit pit road, definitely going to come down to the service of his crew. Definitely is screaming for some fresh Goodyear tires on that car right now. So that is the official start of your green flag pit stops. But Jeremy, it's I wouldn't see a bulk of them coming down probably for, like I said, another 8 to 10 laps or a little bit more. Matthew Vachon is just kind of he's doing his own thing right now. Definitely needed some tires because the car was not handling the way that it was at the start of the race.
Yeah, he needed some adjustments made to that car as well. And this pit stop actually makes a little bit of sense. If they cannot make it on one stop, which I don't think they can, you got to split this race into thirds. And pitting on lap number 22/23, that's just shy of the third of the race. So maybe he makes his car feel a little more comfortable for this next long run, extends that run out a little bit longer, and then puts himself back on pace for the third stint with a pretty good car. But as we're talking about that 67, James Wallace does pass the 75 off of turn number 3 last lap. And Chuck Sweeting barely made it to the line in first place, but as they come back to the line this time around to end lap 23, there will be your first lead change this evening, as James Wallace is now to the point you see him just barely squeak out by 2/1000ths of a second. And when you're doing that at 180 miles an hour, that's just like a mere inch or two right there.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, and especially down that straightaway. There's not much that those drivers can do any more than that, Jeremy. I mean, they got those pedals mashed all the way down to the floorboards. I mean, it's pretty much keeping that wheel as straight as possible and just keeping that pedal down and just hoping that that your line is a little bit better and enough to inch it out. I mean, we've seen a lot of races at Pocono, both in the iRacing simulation and the real world, be won by mere inches like that. So this track, it definitely poses for some great finishes.
It really can. It's really surprising too, because this track's so big and it's so unique, and the corners are all different. But somehow, some way, if it's not really stretched out, it always comes down to the wire. So we'll have to see how this plays out here, as we're currently on lap 24. You see the number 24 here getting some good pressure from that 33, making a pretty good run, Mr. Sherwood Williford, inside the top 5 right now. And who's trying to take advantage of this 24, who's kind of fallen off the pace a little bit from his early run. 33 typically has a long run setup. You remember back in New Hampshire, he almost had a shot at the win. That car was running really good on the long run, and this track kind of resembles that, with turn 3 being very similar as far as banking, and turn 2 for that matter. So it looks like Mr. Williford has a pretty good setup when it comes to these flatter tracks.
Yeah, and like you said, definitely a long run set as well, as we're working lap 25 of 80 right now. So definitely has a good long run set. So Mark Sherwood Williford in that orange number 33 up to 4th place. So again, just solidifies his place in the top 5. That's going to move Stephen Lou Allen back to 5th. Right now, that is one of your closest battles going on. Ryan Hedrick is back there. He's just kind of on an island of his own. I mean, a lot of these top 10, Jeremy, have just been spaced out on this. You don't really get a close battle until you get back to about 9th and 10th. And right now you got the real close battle between Grassi, Solari, and Dublé that are really going at it right now. I mean, otherwise, everybody else is pretty much spread out, and we've got green flag pit stops coming about 4 laps sooner than what I called, Jeremy. So not too bad.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you pan your camera to the right there, you're going to find that 67 of James Wallace making a pit stop. You see the 47 of Ryan Hendrick behind him, and I think there was one other as well. Come to the service of their virtual crews, the 37 of Brian Dublé, also coming down for his green flag pit stop. 02 as well, Mr. Mayu. Rocking the color that he started a couple weeks ago. Pretty good looking cars out here at 67 with an awesome pit stop right there. No problem with the service of his crew. Now it's just time for that 75, Mr. Chuck Sweeting. He runs a little bit lower line through turn 3 that we have not seen. This allows, at least temporarily, you're going to find those guys like James Wallace and Rick Hedrick there to, I say Rick, I meant Ryan. I get that mixed
you
up.
pulled a me, Jeremy.
This time. It was my turn to do it. I was actually going to compliment you on getting it right the first time this time, but I guess you passed that off to me. But either way, kind of curious to see that 37 Brian Dublé run the apron there through the corner of turn number 1, not getting in the way of these guys, which that's going to really hurt his speed, as it's a lot flatter down there in turn 1 on the apron. So play a little bit of part into what his strategy might entail, but waiting on that 75 to come down to that stop with the crew.
Yeah, and they're in typical fashion. I mean, both the 75 and 19 teams of Sweeting and Coy, they're going to wait until the last possible minute to come down. I mean, these guys are battling it out pretty hard and heavy. And as I say that, they're going to make a liar out of me, Jeremy, as they both come in pretty hot, and they have followers as well. Stephen Lou Allen, Sherwood Williford also following, Brian Bliss as well. Seeing some brake smoke, Jeremy, so some drivers may be coming in pretty hot.
75 was on the button. Perfect stop there to come down to speed right at 55 as soon as he hit that white line. Job well done, and that pit crew, or the pit road rather, is really busy. About 6 cars coming down to the service of their crews. Hopefully everyone hits their stops, hits their marks just fine. But I think that's going to play an advantage to that 75 and the 19. I think they had a lot faster pit entrance than what we saw from the 67 and the 47. So is that much ground that the 67 got from getting the fresh tires. I think that 75 did really well coming down and maximizing his time in pit road.
Oh, absolutely. I would have to agree on that 100%. Right now, Josh Johnson takes over your race lead as he just passed the 11 of Tony Solari. These drivers going at it as well, side by side as they're coming off, going down the stretch. Right now, mark that lap led by the 57 of Josh Johnson, but they're still side by side, Jeremy, sailing it off into turn 1.
Pretty good battle overall from these two guys, and looks like the 57 is going to be able to clear Solari at this time. But, passing each other just continues to slow them down. They got to come down to pit road at some point in time as they're coming off into lap number 30. Surprised that number 11 isn't playing his teammate strategy, as they've already pitted down to the service of their crew. So, or at least Richie Coy has for that matter. And the 11 just gets really tight there and through turn 2, trying to maximize that corner. But as they're coming up to lap 30 here, Dustin, it's the time. The times are a big difference right now. That last lap by Mr. Tony Solari was a 56.6. To go back to Chuck Sweeting, who's ran a couple laps on his tires, or not Chuck Sweeting per se, but let's say the 67 of James Wallace's lap time was a 53.9. So 2.5 seconds makes the difference now every single lap he stays out.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference with it. And again, that's the great thing about auto racing is pit strategy. We coming in as broadcasters and commentators, Jeremy, you and I have no idea what any of these drivers' plans are. As a driver, as a team member, we have no idea. There very well could be. They may be trying to save. They may, feel that they can make it to the halfway point and maybe try to push this to a one-stop race. But then you have to gamble on, how much time are you losing? Maybe they're gambling on a late race or a mid-race caution before coming in. I mean, there's a number of things that could happen right now, and that's the great thing about, like I said, about auto racing. You just don't know. That's what makes it so exciting.
That number 11, by the way, hit the wall in the past 2 corners, overshot the entrance to turn number 2, had to whoa it up and barely hit the wall. Then, as you saw on your camera go at the top of the screen, he bounced off the wall once or twice again off of turn 3. So a little bit of right side damage done to that 11. And I thought the first time he's found the wall, you mentioned it earlier on in the race, I think within the first 10 laps, he found the wall there as well. So
turn 3.
75 car. Yeah, and turn 3 for that matter, which always the troublesome corner. If it's not turn 2, it's turn 3. And every once in a while you find someone get really out of shape in turn 1, but such a flat corner that does a lot of speed off of 3. Which could cause some guys getting loose. Or the 26 already do that. It's just, you feel like you can exit the corner with a lot of speed, and then you just go for it, and then the wall just eats you up. So you have to play patience game through turn 3.
Yeah, you do, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that turn 3 is a very tricky turn. As you enter it as a driver, with the way that, this is a wide track, Jeremy. This is a really wide track, and as you enter turn 3, it is a flat corner, but it is so wide that as you go in, you feel that you can maintain and you can angle that and carry more speed than what you actually can. And it doesn't work that way. Like you said, it ends up that wall comes out and bites you, essentially just like Dover. It's you look at it the same way. Dover, you feel like you can carry so much more speed through the corners, and before you know it, turn 2 and turn 4 is rattling the right side of your car.
Oh, for sure. Tire management is key when you're trying to run these 2 corners, especially. You might feel like turn 1's pretty good, and then you get to turn 2 and you're like, whoa, what happened to my turning? Well, it's because there's less banking. You see, I think in the background you saw someone get loose there.
Yeah, that was Brody Hanna.
Brody Hanna also feeling a little bit of loose there as well. So
Fury Motorsport teammate to Tony Solari, similar setups, if not the exact same setup. So could be seeing a little bit of a breakdown, Jeremy.
Yeah, and they're on different strategies. Richie Coy did pit because he was running up with the leaders. Now the 23 and the 11 are kind of sitting there maybe hoping for a caution as they really extend out this run. They have 7 laps, Dustin, until they find the halfway point. And so I'm not sure what the plan is exactly with those two guys you mentioned earlier with being a broadcaster. We don't have the biggest budget. We don't have guys on pit road trying to ask all the questions like you see on the real world stuff. So we don't know. It's always a fun surprise to see exactly what these guys have in store for us.
Yeah, and it's never a dull moment when it comes to this, because right now your top 4 are on a completely different strategy than 5th place on back. So Josh Johnson, Tony Solari, Brody Hanna, and Steve Loomis are all on separate strategies. Your first driver that is on your strategy where they pitted at about lap, what was it, 28, I believe, is James Wallace right now, followed by Matthew Vachon, who was one of the drivers. He's off cycle as well. He was one of the very first ones to pit, and looks like he's he's wicked loose coming through that corner. Looked like the 75 got close, Jeremy. He just got arrow loose. Excellent job wheeling that thing and keeping it going, though. But again, the 26 is on a completely different strategy. So Chuck Sweeting, Chad Lang, Richie Coy, Ryan Hedrick, all those drivers all came in together. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to play out, because we have 2 opposite sides of the coin right now.
Yeah, we saw that 26 get loose earlier on, especially in 3, and that's why he came down earlier than everybody else on lap 22. But it looks like right now that 26 is still fighting a loose handling car, which he's only put 12 laps on this car on these set of tires since his pit stop. So to find him loose right now, it looks like he's a little bit of the wrong way on that setup. Also to mention, the clouds are back out. They ran the majority of practice with cloud coverage, and the beginning of the race was all nice and sunny. So maybe the weather's playing a little bit of part to that 26 not having the best handling. Who knows? But it's getting a little busy here behind that 26. The 19 and 47 are also really tight here as we got a 4-car battle for this position. Yeah,
we're on board with Matthew Vachon right now, watching him wheel this around. And Jeremy, it looks like he's putting a lot of wheel input going into that corner there, and you see him have to snap it back a couple times, depending on what corner he's coming out of. So turn 3 is not too bad, but it seems like turn 1, which is where he got loose when Chuck Sweeting was, right on his back end, seems like it might be his trouble spot. But like you said, a lot of fighting right now for this spot. As you just seen Vachon pass the 4 of Chad Lang.
Yeah, that was a lot of wheel input, which kind of hurts the tire wear, especially going through the flatter corners. But that kind of explains why he's a little bit snappy loose in the flatter corners here. Put a lot of wheel input in there, then if you kind of burp the throttle a little too hard, that has nothing to do but kick the rear tires out of place, which will bring that snappy loose into that car. So he's got to find a fine line here of not over rotating the steering wheel, and at the same time not getting that car loose on throttle. So 26 definitely not where he wants to be at this point in the race. Not even halfway yet. Already made his pit stop earlier on, much earlier than everybody else, and still fighting a ill-handling car.
Yeah, the good thing is, though, we're only 37 laps. We're not even at halfway yet, Jeremy. We are 3 laps shy of halfway. He still has time. He still has another pit stop, at least another pit stop to go. He can still make adjustments. So, if he made adjustments and they're not working, he can at least undo what he did and possibly go the other way. So there's still hope in there yet, is to not give up. But right now, he's under a lot of pressure from the 47 of Ryan Hedrick right now, as Hedrick now goes by him. So Mark Hedrick up to the 7th spot, and he's up 3 positions from his 10th place starting.
Yeah, the 47 pitted 4 laps after that 26, so fresher tires. That makes perfect sense. That's why the 47 is just a little faster than that 26 for sure. As we're approaching, Dustin, lap 38. We have 3 laps until we get to the halfway point of this event. And the top 5 still have not pitted.
Yep, Brody Hanna.
Say that, and Brody Hanna is coming down just shy of halfway. Now, this has me curious. Can he make it on the longer half of the run here? Has to do a few extra laps than what he did there. Well, the top 4 right now, the 57. Actually, the top 3, rather, because James Wallace is making some huge gains. But the 11, Tony Solari, the 57, and James Wallace. Actually, Chuck Sweeting makes up top 4, so I apologize. 2 cars right now, I think, on that one-stop strategy. We'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, gonna have to. Like you said, I mean, they're losing a lot of time. This lap 40 cannot get to Josh Johnson any faster. Is right there. You see both James Wallace and Chuck Sweeting coming off of turn 3. Those are your second and third place. Much fresher tires, have already pitted under green flag. Josh Johnson has not yet. And you see they are closing in. I would expect right now, as he is working lap 39 of 80, I would not be surprised to see that 57 dive it off down pit road now so that he crosses the line at 40, hitting his pit stall to get his fresh rubber and get back out there on the track. It's going to be interesting either way, Jeremy. I love it when these guys do this because it keeps us on the edge of our seat. And if it keeps us on the edge of our seat, I know it keeps the viewers on the edge of theirs.
Yeah, it's a huge gamble here to make it 40 laps and then have to pit. If he pits this time, I think it's gonna offset something a little bit. If he comes down next time, though, he's gonna be exactly halfway through the event, and that's what he's gonna do. That 57 is gonna give up that lead to the 67 of James Wallace, who's got a 4-second lead over Chuck Sweeting. Awesome job here by that number 67 so far in this event. And there he goes. Clearly just much faster car with the tire wear situation.
And I heard something.
Nasty pitting right now.
I heard something, Jeremy. That 57, that's exactly what he's doing. He is pushing fuel mileage as we went on board to watch the 67 of James Wallace go by. Josh Johnson was clutching it going in that corner and letting her coast all the way through. That is one of the best tools any driver has in their tool bag to try to conserve fuel, as he's clutching it about every corner, Jeremy. So 57 will be hitting pit lane this time by. Expect him to dive down right now. Either way you look at it, though, he is maintained out there and has only lost one position, and this is going to be his first time hitting pit road this entire race. As you see Josh Johnson now going down to pit road, hits it at the line. Good entry. Just needs to get on pit road and off in a solid manner. We're going to have to see how this turns out, Jeremy.
Yeah, I love it too. The strategy involved. You definitely have to keep a close eye on how this 57 can prevail. Kind of curious though with him clutching up. You're just giving up a lot of excess speed. Is that worth it to not come down pit road? I know this pit road is one of the longest in the business. So, why try to pit twice if you can make it on one stop? 57 is going to try it. The only person really to try it other than the 11, which he came down just a lap or two shorter with his teammate Brody Hanna. So, who knows? We'll see what he's got in store. He does make a clean stop, though. X is out for 57. Good to go there. As long as he has a clean exit through turn number 1, should have no problem getting up to speed. And that resumes Mr. James Wallace, who I mentioned about 5 laps ago, Dustin, was 4 seconds ahead of Chuck Sweeting. That lead has dropped to 1.5, and you see that black and blue car now in his panel on the screen.
Yeah, Chuck Sweeting is coming. The issue is, though, is right now, I mean, it's James Wallace has been running consistent lap times. Doesn't seem like he's really pushing the car. How much is Chuck Sweeting pushing that car to try to make up that gap that James Wallace put in between himself and Chuck during that cycle of green flag pit stops? This is all this pit strategy that goes into play that as fans out there watching and as commentators up here in the booth, we're watching it unfold as well. And it's like a 200-mile-an-hour drama, taking place, and we're just waiting for the climactic end.
Yeah, and as we get there, I think this is a great time, since everyone has made their pit stops for the most part, to take our halfway break. We're going to go side by side as we continue to watch these guys, and we also thank our sponsors visually. So stay tuned. We'll be back with you guys in a few short minutes.
Are you ready to chase the moonlight? Community-based and talent-driven, Moonlight Speed Concepts has what you need to take your iRacing experience to the next level. Founded by passionate owners that care about the community and housing some of the top setup builders and drivers on the platform, Moonlight Speed Concepts offers custom paints, driver coaching, and setups for dirt, asphalt short track racing, and eNASCAR competition. Partnered with top brands in both real world and simulation. Follow us on Facebook or visit moonlightspeed.com and find out why these businesses chase the moonlight and why you should too. Moonlight Speed Concept, where all we chase is moonlight.
Screen coverage for the Nerditudes broadcast of the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach1 Performance Cup Series. And right now, right before we went to break, that 67 and 75 were 1.5 off each other after making a 3-second gain. Pretty impressive there by the 75, but that came at the cost of an excess tire wear. Seems like he's kind of fallen off the pace from his run and kind of run the same lap times now as that number 67 of James Wall. So only 1.3 seconds separates those two guys for the top spot. Go back to third place. Richie Coy, 7 seconds back of the top two.
Yeah, and that's before we went to commercial break. That's exactly what we were talking about, Jeremy. Was the fact that, you know, making up that run and everything else was, you know, at what cost was that going to be for Chuck Sweeting? And it looks like we are seeing that right now. I mean, he's still gaining time. While we were watching him before, it was 1.3 seconds. That's now dropped to 1.1 seconds. So he's still making up time, but not as fast as what he once was. But Richie Coy, I mean, trying to make up time as well. But Jeremy, that's a 7-second gap. He's going to have to try to make that up on pit road, or he's going to have to hope for a yellow flag to try to close this gap up, because that's starting to get into no man's land at that point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ryan, you're talking about these guys. I saw the 19 on your screen get a little wicked loose last lap in turn number 3. That car's fighting a little bit of an ill situation himself, as he's got pressure now on the backside of him with that 24 and the 33 are just neck and neck right now. And lap number 50 of scheduled 80, so 30 laps left for these guys when they have to make one more green flag stop. So they're trying to get everything they can out of these tires before they come down for the third of the race, which is going to be a lap probably in the next couple laps is going to be right at the third of the race through. So any moment I would expect these guys like the 24, like the 19, like the 33 to come down, so making their last minute moves before they come down.
Yeah, as you see both the 24 and the 33 going by the 19 there. 19 having an ill-handling car, but yeah, it's all these drivers, with the exception of, we know at least Josh Johnson can make it to the end, as long as there is no green-white checkered, can make it to the end of this event. without making another stop. Possibly Brody Hanna and Tony Solari, depending on how much they saved. They came in just shy of the halfway point, as you see the 33 of Sherwood going on the inside of Stephen Lou Allen right now, going off into turn 1. So these two have been battling it out pretty hard and heavy. Probably why Richie sat here and let them go by and said, you know what, boys, you guys just go ahead and have at it. But yeah, like I said, Jeremy, I would have to agree. Coming up here, probably within the next, 6 laps or so, I would expect to see some drivers start to dive down pit road there, because they can make it at that point in time. That'd be 25 to go left in the race. So it's going to be interesting to see how these pit strategies work out, especially for those drivers that waited to that halfway point before they came in.
Pit road is now busy. The 67-year race leader, James Wallace, making his pit stop. Gets down the speed at the right time, so excellent entrance there from that 67, James Wallace. Going to come to the service of his AI crew for the last time this evening, as long as everything goes green the entire way. He's making that short pit once again. It worked great for him the first stint, and so he's going to take advantage of it, doing it again right at the third of the way through the race. It's going to leave him with 29 laps to get this thing done. I love this stop right here from the 67. Nice to see the 37 also. Brian Dublé making the stop. So pit road is underway.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: the 67 made excellent gains on that pit stop. Last time he put a lot of distance in between himself and Chuck Sweeting. Even though, and you see Chuck is not waiting either. He's seen exactly how much distance he put on. Chuck Sweeting hits pit road this time by. So both of these drivers are looking to try to maximize their tires to the fullest. You see a whole gaggle of them coming in. Stephen Lou Allen, that 24, the 33 is Sherwood Williford, Richie Coy in the 19, Brian Bliss in the 18. These drivers have learned from the last one. They are not waiting around. They want the fresh tires, because they see exactly, like you said, Jeremy, worn tires to fresh tires. There was a 1.5 difference in lap time plus. So, I mean, that's big gains out there, and you've seen how quick the 67 was able to chase down those drivers out there on older tires, and that's exactly what they plan on doing right now.
Yeah, looks like Chuck Sweeting came down right away, too. Only one lap's going to be the difference there. I think Chuck coming down, I think it was 2 laps between him and the 67 the last time around. So, and as you see right there, he exits pretty good. Basically right where he left off, so 1 lap fresh of tires and about the same distance separates those two. That's going to play in the favor of Chuck Sweeting's hands. One lap around this track is a big difference for this tire wear.
Yeah, it is a huge difference on that tire wear. I think the 67 of James Wallace was hoping for just a little bit more space in between him and Chuck like last time, so that Chuck maybe had to burn that extra lap off just trying to get back close to him. But it just doesn't seem like it works. But this race isn't over yet. The 67 of Wallace has had a super strong car all night long. So only time will tell. But right now, they got to chase down a number of drivers. And some of these drivers, Jeremy, like that 57 of Josh Johnson, we know he can make it the entire way as long as it stays green. So there should be no issue with him making it. So they're going to have to chase him down right now. And there's, right now as it sits, they are sitting, about 10 seconds back from these guys?
Joshua Johnson right now has a 5.5 second advantage, actually 6.5 second advantage over James Wallace, your current fastest car on the track. So
I don't know if it's gonna pan out, Jeremy. I don't know.
With the amount of clutching the 57 was doing, I just don't see it happening. But we've seen it work before for some guys. For me, it never works out on the one-stop strategy. So I think it's gonna be too much. I think he's gonna have to come down for a second pit stop. I think there's just not enough room there. And
I'm kind of torn on it. I don't think he's gonna have to come down. I think he's gonna be able to make it. But the thing is there's not enough gap in between him and these drivers that have pitted already, like James Wallace and Chuck Sweeting. They're on fresh tires. He's sitting there right now on 15-lap old tires, 14-lap old tires. So there's a 14-lap difference. these guys that got fresh rubber on them right now, they're going to chase him down and eat him up, and a lot faster than, than what we're probably all expecting. That's why I don't, unless something happens, Jeremy, I don't see it panning out.
Yeah, I'm on your boat there. I think it's universal agreement. You've seen some other guys come down pit road. Looks like the 02. Also looks like the 27. A couple guys coming down pit road. That was Jonathan Varanasquez, 27. He can give up third place to come down to the service of his crew. You see a couple other guys. I think that's Martin Garreau there on the 50. Come down as well. He's going to give up 7th place. So looks like most of the remaining guys are headed down for their last stop this evening.
Yeah, going to be the final pit stops of this evening. That is going to relinquish the race lead to the 26 and Matthew Vachon, who has been strong, but right now he is under a lot of pressure from the 7 of Wayne Grassi, as these two are duking it out right now. And now count Wayne Grassi up to that race lead as he passes the 26. So again, Vachon back to 2nd, Grassi up to that point right now. Mark a lap led and the bonus points to that number 7.
Yeah, that's going to bring the, I think, 4th lead change this evening, depending on, as you look at it through pit stop cycles. I really don't count those too much, but strategies out there and a wide variety, you kind of have to count them. So I think it's our 4th different lead change this evening. Number 7, Wayne Grassi, gets to the lead, and then right after that says, I'm pitting this time, so he's going to relinquish it back to the 26.
Yeah, I got out there just to try to put as much distance as possible, get those extra bonus points. Again, a lot of these drivers are racing for points. They know that points are involved, so any extra point counts. And even though it may not have seemed like it was that important for the 7 to pass the 26, the 26, was a little slower than the 7. That allowed the 7 to get a 4 to 5 car length gap coming into the pits right there, so that saves a little bit of time on the track.
26 coming down with him, so does not give it up to the 26. It'll then go in return to that guy who's on the one-stop strategy, Mr. Joshua Johnson. That means everybody else has pitted. It is down to the guys that are on the track, and we talked about them probably not making it happen. Look at the camera angle. Look who is behind the 57. 1 second separates the fastest guy on the track, James Wallace, and that 57 of Joshua Johnson. So it does not look like the strategy will pay off, as they got over 20 laps left.
Yeah, 23 to go to be exact, and you're going to see the 67 just truck right on by the 57 here. Like I said, that's the difference between older tires, newer tires. That's a 15 lap difference in tires right there, and you see the 67 just coast right on by, and guess what? The 75 is going to be close in tow. But Jeremy, what I am surprised right now is we're looking off the back of Josh Johnson, who's currently your 2nd place driver. That is Chuck Sweeting back there. When he came out of the pits, there was only a 1.5 second gap in between himself, and actually it was less than that. It was about 1.2 second gap in between himself and James Wallace. And now as you're looking at it, prior to Chuck Sweeting trying to get around Josh Johnson, there's about a 1.6 second gap or so that's separating these two. So James Wallace has actually spread that distance out a little bit.
Yeah, this is correct here. And the 75 makes a great option through turn number 2, not going full speed, allowing himself to get to the 57 on the straightaway part. Makes a really clean pass out of it. Now it's just him and the 67. I want to mention, too, you talk about the 57 not having the best strategy as far as getting to the win, per se, but overall, this is still a huge success for that 57. We didn't mention that he started in 14th, did not have the fastest practice time, did not have the best qualifying time, but with his strategy, he's found himself in 3rd place. 4th place is 7 seconds behind him, Dustin. So even though it's not going to give him the win compared to 14th, I think 3rd place or even 4th or 5th is a huge success for the 57 team.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't a bad call at all to do it. I mean, it's, when we were talking about it earlier and not panning out, it wasn't going to pan out for the victory with the way that the spacing was. But no, you are 110% correct on that. This is a solid run for this 57 team here. Like you said, especially coming in where their practice times, they were struggling to try to get speed out of this 57 team, but opted to utilize pit strategy to make up that all-important ground game, so to speak. And right now, 20 laps to go, and they're comfortably sitting in third place right now, Jeremy. So as long as it keeps going, they easily can have a podium finish locked in here, and at worst case scenario, a solid top 5 for that team.
Yeah, either way, huge success right now. He's running a strong podium position. Still 7 seconds separates him and Ryan Hedrick. They're in 4th, so coming down to 20 laps to go this time, or last time by rather. Yeah, I think he's going to finish within the top 5 because you got 3rd or 4th or 5th place. He's another 3 seconds off of Ryan Hedrick, who's currently in 4th, so I really don't feel like he's going to fall that far back unless he has to fall to clutching over and over like we saw him in the first stint there trying to make it to the halfway point. Either way, though, I'm going to say huge props to that 57. Hats off to him on that awesome strategy. But this race right now for 1st and 2nd underway as Chuck Sweeting has found himself a half a second away from that 67.
Yeah, he's coming, and he's coming fast. So we've been keeping an eye on this battle right here with the 67 of James Wallace running in 1st. Chuck Sweeting, that 75, running in 2nd, trying to chase him down. 1 lap newer tires. But these two here have been duking it out all race long, back and forth. We have already talked about Josh Johnson in that 57, opting to go that pit strategy route. That single stop here at Pocono, really stretching it out, and did a fantastic job stretching it out. Has put himself in position with 18 laps to go, 17 as they cross the line next time by, to potentially have a good podium finish, and if not that, at least a top 5. So excellent call, excellent run, a good clean race by that 57. Ryan Hedrick back there in the 4th position right now has also been running a solid race. Not up as many positions as the person he's trying to chase down, Josh Johnson, who was up 11. But Ryan Hedrick is up 6 spots from his 10th place starting spot. And he is solidly locked into the top 5 as it is right now, because that next closest person to him, Stephen Lou Allen, like you said, is another 2 seconds back, 2 seconds plus back from Ryan Hedrick, Jeremy. So again, the top 5 stretched out, but right now Richie Coy sitting in that 6th position, giving a lot of pressure to that 24 right now in the later stages of this race. And Jeremy, that is not who you want to see in that mirror right now. Is that, in this case this week, that orange and black number 19, because he's going to put the pressure on, and he's going to keep it on all race long until he sees that black and white flag waving at the end. Sherwood Williford back behind the 19er. Richie Coy has been putting on a blister of a pace all race long, coming in later at stages of the runs, and he is coming up to join this battle here as he sits solidly in 7th place. Brian Bliss, whose name we haven't called much this race at all, but through pit strategy and just perseverance, and that's number 18 Smithfield. Smell that bacon. Toyota Camry, the only Toyota out there in the field, is sitting solidly in that 8th position right now. Right now, the only person that's trying to chase him down is Chad Langham, that number 4. We haven't called Chad's name really at all this race either, but running a solid race as well, 9th. And then rounding out your top 10, Josh Mayu off of a solid run a couple weeks back, getting in that podium. Is now sitting in the top 10 right now, and the closest person to him, Jeremy, is going to be the 27 of Jonathan Varnaskis, who is way back there, so he's got a lot of space in between him, and that is your top 10.
Top 10 running order here with 15 laps remaining when the leader gets to the line this time. And I would have to agree here that the strategy is working out for some of these guys right now. The 67 has been passed by the 75 here. So right now, temporarily, that 1 lap difference there with the set of tires from the 75. His strategy seems to be playing out a little nicer here, but don't mind that 67. We saw the 75 kind of stale out a little bit as the round progresses. So this battle ain't over yet. That 67 really letting his tires cool off, using the draft to kind of bring his car a little closer here so he gets a really good run down the long back stretch here. Entering turn number 2, which this corner can make or break someone's race. Looks like the 6-7 just hits it just a little nicer right there. Come through turn number 3 as they're off with 14 laps to go at the line.
Yeah, 14 laps to go. You seen the Nerd TV replay of the pass for the lead while we were going through our top 10, because we'd love to give all the drivers as much camera time for all their fans out there. So we happened to miss that pass for the lead, but that's the great thing about technology, Jeremy, is we got replay. So we were able to see the 75 take that lead, but right now he is under a lot of pressure. 67 to James Wallace is not letting it go lightly. Like you said, that 1 lap difference in tires, as don't tell the 67 of James Wallace that there's a 1 lap difference in tires, because the way he's racing, they both came in on the same lap and the same pit cycles.
Yeah, like I said, he's gonna cool for those tires. I think he's got a good running car underneath him. He knows it. He knows he can probably outdo the 75 on the long run, and we still have 13 laps to go at the line here. So it's really up to any one of these guys to get the job done. He's got to hit the marks every single time. As we pan back to the 57 here, under pressure from the 33 and the 47, he's starting to fall back a few spots here. And he drops back to 5th and 6th respectively as they go around him, around the inside. No problem. That car is just still handling. I noticed a few laps ago he was pushing way up the track off of turn number 3. He was actually getting a little bit loose, so that car's just a little bit all over the place. Can't really hit the marks exactly how he wants, but that's to be expected when you're running this long of a run.
Yeah. We weren't expecting the tires to fall off that much. Again, we were basing it off the first run, Jeremy. But that car definitely seems like it has fallen off quite a bit, as he is now slotted back in that 7th position. So give 3rd place to Stephen Lou Allen for the time being, as again, he is still under a lot of pressure from the 19 of Richie Coy. You know, Richie loves getting up here and talking with the nerds. So he's going to be giving it everything he can, but don't count out that 33 of Sherwood Williford either. He's been keeping that bright orange Chevy nose right in the picture there, and just waiting to pounce, because that's the Williford way. Is just waiting until those that set comes in, that long run, maybe wait for a little slip up, and that's when he attacks.
Yeah, no, definitely don't count out that 33. And he's been getting stronger and stronger as the season has progressed. You see him inside the top 5 more and more, and right now he's just chilling inside the top 5, hunting down that 19 and the 24. He could potentially be talking to us once again here in the nerd booth in a matter of 11 laps or so. I think he's got the car to do it for sure. Richie Coy has got a little bit faster car than that 24. 24 seems to be holding him up just a little bit, which is great, putting a huge smile on that 33. It's like you said, he's going to be waiting for that attack moment, get that good run off the corner. He knows these guys' weaknesses right now, which is the long run, playing nothing but into the favor of that 33. To the 19 looking high on the 24. A little bit of an interesting pass there. 24 gives him plenty of room to break up that side draft. As they head off into turn number 1, this is going to play huge dividends for that 33.
Yeah, as you see that 33 close right in on the back bumper. A lot closer than what he was in the 19, and he's just slowly closing in as these two are still side by side through turn 1. Now, Jeremy, this is where it's going to get tricky, as we got 11 laps to go, so these drivers have been on these tires for a number of laps, and they're coming up to that tricky turn 2. This is where it can make or break depending on how you enter it in, how much a car slips up. You see the 24 kind of drive it up the track a little bit, has to back out to keep out of the side panel of the 19, but you see the 24 battling right back because the 19 was on that high side. So this is doing nothing but helping out those 2 cars in front of them, being Sweeting and Wallace, and helping out that 33. As you see now, Williford put his nose to the inside. He's going to try going on the inside of the 24 of Stephen Lou Allen. So Lou Allen may be losing 2 positions here in a matter of just a lap and a half, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think the 33's got him in a matter of time. If he does not get it this corner, he will get it in the next few corners after that. Guaranteed here. That 33 just showing some awesome speed. Kind of really chokes up the exit there of turn number 1. He had the clear space there, but he opted not to do it. So it kind of scrubbed off a little straightaway speed, which you don't want to do on a really long straightaway. You got to maximize that effort on the exit. But he runs a little bit low here in turn number 2. Gets a good solid exit though off the turn number 2. Coming up to that 24 in turn number 3, which It looks like the 24 is struggling between these 3 cars in your screen right now. 24 is a little bit tighter off compared to these other 2 guys. See the 24 really push up and almost hit that wall, getting so close, but still able to maximize his speed there off exit.
Yeah, still able to maximize the speed, and he closing in on the 19 right now. As you see him trying to break draft a little bit back and forth. I was surprised at the amount of speed the 24 got off of that turn 3, because it looked like he really had to wheel it coming off to keep that thing off the wall. But Jeremy, that's why these guys are out here doing it, and that's why I'm up here in the booth just calling what I see. And here we go. Here's that pass. 24, not done yet. He doesn't want a piece of that number 19. He wants the whole thing. And that's exactly what he's going to try to do, but a real tough corner to do it. We talked about that turn 2. You know, he's going to have to time it a lot better, Jeremy, and he's going to have to pick a different corner. That turn 2 is very tough to get it done, especially on older tires.
It's so tempting because we know the 19 is not the best in turn number 2, and that 24, Stephen Llewellyn, really feels like that's his time to shine is through that corner, but you really have to have a pristine corner to make that pass up on the inside. But as he does that, turn 3 not in his favor, the 24 that is. 33 is going to take advantage of that, which we know the 24's weakness is turn number 3. So that allows that 33 to finally clear the 24. And now he's got his eyes set on Richie Coy. That is for podium position tonight.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, you called it 3 laps ago, the 24 fighting back on the inside right now. This is a good battle we got going on, and this is for that final podium position. These 2 drivers here are duking it out to go after Richie Coy to try to get in that final podium transfer spot to get a chance to come up here and talk with the nerds tonight after the race with 8 laps to go. But like you said, Williford was just back there watching these. He knows where both of these drivers' weak points are. He knows a 24 is weaker in 3, and he knows a 19 is weaker in 2, so he knows where to make his attack and where to make his gains. And you've seen that last lap. I mean, he pounced on that 24 coming out of turn 3, and that's exactly where he needed to.
That's correct, and the 33 gets a pretty decent run there, gets all the way about 1 car length away from the 25 in that corner. Looked like the 33 just could not hold the inside line in turn number 3, which kind of slowed him up a little bit. Made it up with that draft, though, as they go through turn number 1. Seems like the 33 is struggling. We mentioned it earlier on in the race. You have to be conservative on all 3 of these corners as far as your setup goes. You can't just be the greatest in all 3 corners. And right now, the 33 is struggling in 1, the 19 is struggling in 2, and the 24 is struggling in 3. So all have their each their own weaknesses here. But it's kind of equaling each other out as these guys are, you know, underneath the blanket, so to speak. And you kicked it back over to the race lead, which under fire right now as well. Mr. James Wallace and Chuck Sweeting. You know, we got 6 laps to go, and they are 1 car length away from each other.
And the crazy thing is, Jeremy, is they have been like this since Chuck Sweeting made the pass on James Wallace, and that was back on lap 12 to 13. They have been like this now for 7 straight laps, and here we go, the 67 making a run on the inside of the 75, trying to power it through, Jeremy. This is going to be your race for the race lead. They are side by side going off into turn 3, and this is that corner that can be very tricky, Jeremy. It's you feel like you can take more speed through there, and that high line is going to prevail on that. They can keep them RPMs wound up. The 67 has to pull back in line. But, Jeremy, this isn't done yet. 5 laps to go in this race right now, and you are looking at the difference that separates your first-place sitter right now and your second-place runner, that being the 75 of Chuck Sweeting and the 67 of James Wallace.
Yeah, the 67 does have the faster long-run car, which I knew from the get-go, but he's trying. He's doing really hard right now, and he's going to actually take his attack here in turn number 2, which has not been successful for a lot of guys this evening. Goes in there deep. The 75 gives him tons of room, but it looks like he's just not going to be able to get him on exit. Chokes up that corner, and they're going to head off into a dead heat into turn number 3 to come over to 4 laps to go, as they're still side by side. 75 running his normal line, which, you know, is that middle groove, which he's had a lot of success with so far. And since he's been able to run that middle line this entire race, it kind of played into his favor there, as the 67 can't make the corner exit like he can. 75 goes to break the draft a little bit. This is going to allow the 67 to maybe get to the side, and no, just not enough space there. Chuck Sweeting has a little bit lower entrance into 1. That does not affect him, as he makes a good center of the corner, 67 with a slightly better exit off of turn number 1, just like last time, as he heads off into turn number 2. Not going to be a repeat of last corner, as he's going to follow single file this time through 2.
Yeah, these two duking it out again, going through turn 2, like you said, single file. 67 to James Wallace is cooling his tires off right now. He's trying to figure out a different way to attack. He's gonna have to try to work Chuck Sweeting out of that lane and try to beat him at his own game out of turn 3, because that is where Chuck has been the strongest all race long. He gets that good run on that mid-line going through turn 3, and that's where the 67 is having a hard time. He cannot compete with it, as he's showing the nose right now on the inside. Going on the inside right now, this could be one of the better chances we have going in. He does make the pass, but is the 75 going to allow it, or is the 75 going to show nose going down the backstretch? Showing nose on the inside, so now rolls a reverse. Jeremy, 75 on the inside going into turn 2, and he elects to say, nah, not going to happen. I've seen that happen, wind up bad in too many different scenarios, as he pulls back and going to try it again going into turn 3, which is his strong corner.
You can see the professionalism there, and Chuck Sweeting off of turn number 1 just times it perfectly to maximize his run down the backstretch. Getting to turn number 2, pushed him as deep as he can into turn number 2. Able to get the 67 a little bit hot into that corner, soaks him back in. And now the 75 with a good run down the front stretch here with 2 laps remaining at Pocono. With a little bit of a traffic here, the 44, Chris Beck playing a little bit of an issue here at the 67. As they go through turn number 1, takes the air off the nose a little bit off the 67, gets him a little tight. And that's going to let 75 with a good run down the backstretch. Will he try to attack this time? No, he backs off this time. We're going to go single file going through turn number 2.
Yeah, and again, it's a veteran move by the 75 of Chuck Sweeting not to take it too wide going through there, but you see the run, holding back like that. You see the run that he gets going through turn 2, side by side, going off into turn 3. This is coming through turn 3 to the white flag, ladies and gentlemen. These drivers are side by side. Now the roles are reversed. Chuck Sweeting having a hard time keeping that speed up. Almost contact there with the right front. White flag out, presented by Mach1 Performance. This is your race for the win right now between the 67 of James Wallace, who you are on board with right now, and the 75 of Chuck Sweeting. Chuck Sweeting falls back, trying to get that run. He's going to try to maximize that going down that backstretch. I don't see him holding back now. The race win is on the line. If you're going to see Chuck really push the issue in turn 2, this is going to be the lap as he gets real close, getting that side draft into turn 2. 67 doesn't give him a lot of room, runs his normal line. Both drivers still clean all the way through, Jeremy, straight to turn 3.
Final corner this evening, dead heat side by side. Will there be a 6th different winner this evening, or will Chuck take the win as far as most wins of the season, being 3? As they got one more corner to the side, the 75 really pushed up, just not have enough grip, and the 67 of James Wallace will come home with the victory. The first checker flag this evening for him, 8 races in at Pocono.
What a race. Those two put on a hell of a show, Jeremy. Excellent drive by both the 67 of James Wallace and the 75 of Chuck Sweeting, as they were trying to work each other left and right there, trying to really break down their barriers there to see what they could do. And I tell you what, even all the way to the end, trying to really cut it close, given very little room. Both drivers still stayed off of each other and still kept it clean. That is a benchmark of professionalism. That was an excellent race win by the 67 and a hard-fought second place for that 75.
Yeah, that was an excellent race there. And we talked about it earlier in this race. This race either comes down to someone who's blowing it out altogether, or it comes down to the wire. And this is one of those come down to the wire moments where the win was separated by 1/10 of a second between James Wallace and Chuck Sweeting. As the 67 is going to go collect his checker flag and do a burnout here for the fans that showed up at the virtual Pocono Raceway, doing the burnout right up the start-finish line. You know, every time there's a new winner, we get to see what they get to do for the burnouts, because we're not used to the 67 out here getting the checker flag. So as he burns them down, Dustin, I think it's time to go down those unofficial results here.
Absolutely, and like you said, it's always good to see them burn it down, so to speak, like that. And you know what? A very delicious looking car, by the way, I will have to say. But as we go down our finishing results, James Wallace, you've seen him burning it down in that Hershey car, takes the victory for tonight. First victory of the season for that 67 team. Chuck Sweeting, again, a hard-fought victory, or hard-fought second place, rather, for that 75, finishes second. Sherwood Williford does end up passing both Richie Coy and Stephen Llewellyn for that third and final podium position. We ended up missing that battle going on because of the tight battle. That's the unfortunate thing about camera angles. You know, can only have one going on at a time. Stephen Llewellyn finishes fourth. Richie Coy rounds out your top five. Brian Bliss in that 18, solid run, up 13 positions to finish sixth. Ryan Hedrick up 3 positions to finish seventh. The next two drivers both up 8 positions from their start to finish 8th and 9th, and that is Chad Lang and Josh Mayu. And Josh Johnson, on that odd pit strategy, still holds on to nab him a top 10, Jeremy.
Yeah, that was a great strategy. Gave him 4 spots for sure. Job well done from that crew. At 11th place, you're going to find Jonathan Varanaskis. 12th place, Wayne Grassi. 13th, Brian Dublé. 14th place, you'll find Martin Garreau. Everybody else 1 lap down or more. You got the 15th place, Chris Beck. 16th, Brody Hanna. Surprisingly, to find him 1 lap down. 17th, Tony Solari. 18th, Matthew Vachon. 19th, Steve Loomis. And last place with an early exit is at number 15 of Nicholas Moreau. Then Dustin, I know we usually interview the top 3 here for the post-race show presented by Martin Sports, but at the moment, you know, we kicked it over to Discord this time, so it's a 50-50 chance at who's going to be here. And right now, looks like we only have a race winner, James Wallace, that's currently available for the post-race interview. So we're going to see if we can just straight jump into it and bring in your race winner, that number 67, James Wallace.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing with switching, but to have better communication for the entire league admins elected to go with Discord. So as it sits right now, like you said, it looks like James Wallace is the only driver that we currently have to try to talk to.
Yep, and we're going to try to bring him in right now as he's patiently waiting for us. Talk to the man of the show this evening at Pocono, Mr. James Wallace. You got a copy?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going great up here, man. Fighting a little illnesses ourselves, but other than that, you know, you guys put on a hell of a show, which makes it feel a little better for us. Excellent job out there. That was one of the best finishes we've seen all season long between you and Chuck Sweeting. Chuck, who's got 2 wins. You're looking for your very first checkered flag in 2022B. You're able to make it happen, man. How was that last run there for you, and how were you able to get the job done?
It was a stressful run. I knew I was close with Chuck. Chuck was good. That's why I kept pitting a little earlier than him, hoping to just be able to get out in front of him. And that last run, he ran me down decent, and I thought he was going to take it. But then we got racy there the last 5, and I don't know. I got some good luck on my side.
Hey, I tell you what, good luck. I mean, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Walk us through. I mean, I know it had to be nerve-wracking, and your knuckles are probably as white as snow right now. But kind of walk us through those last couple laps, because you were trying a couple corners to pass him. He was trying a couple corners, and you guys flip-flopped rolls going into 3. And, I mean, it's going through 2. You guys got super close there. You kind of walk us through a little bit what was going through your mind.
Yeah, I definitely... He had me beat in the tunnel turn always. And 1, I could get him in the entry. He was better exit. And 3 was sort of that first run or 2, I was better. And then that second last run, he was catching up on me, that I was trying different lines, seeing what he was doing, but he just made better adjustments, I guess. But I knew our gearing was definitely different. He was shifting, and that's where I was catching him, like on the back stretch. Was as soon as he would shift, it was almost like it was throwing a little bit of a brake on it or something, that I could be able to get side by side with him.
Yeah, I'm going over the points here, man, as well. And The rookie of the year contention is it's heating up here. You were 17 points away from Ryan Hedrick, your teammate, and after this race, you're going to be like within 10 points. So coming to the races left, it's up for grabs for the four rookies here as they're really close up in contention here. What are your thoughts in the final 5 races, and have you thought about Daytona coming up here for the season finale?
Oh, definitely. We're excited. I mean, this is sort of the stretch of the season that we like. You know, a lot of good tracks out there. Really looking forward to going to the Brickyard next week. Um, this hopefully things will go all right for us.
I tell you what, as long as you keep bringing such a delicious looking car like you brought tonight and hitting victory lane with it, I will be 110% okay with that.
I appreciate it.
Sir, well, every time we interview someone, we always give them the floor to thank any sponsors out there that you might have to thank, or just people watching in general. So, floor is yours, man. Who you got to thank out there?
I definitely want to thank, FTSR, HB, y'all for broadcasting. Like I said, FTSR putting a night out for us to race and stuff. Definitely my team, Boomerang. Um, I know it was a big win for us. I mean, I know my team owner Josh was really rooting, hoping I was going to get this win tonight. So this meant a lot for us, man. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's awesome to see you guys get a victory for that team for sure in 2022. You got 2 seasons in a row with at least one victory on that team's belt. So awesome job there. Go and celebrate, man. Go and celebrate with the team and have a good rest of your night.
No doubt. Thanks.
Yes, sir. And that was your race winner, Mr. James Walson at 67. And Dustin, I think Chuck Sweeting has found Discord. He came in late for us, so we have one more person to talk to at number 75 who came so close to victory. Mr. Chuck Sweeting, man, you got a copy. Might not have voice set up with his button. He's brand new to Discord. Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
Hey, man, congratulations on a hard-fought, really close second-place victory. That was a pretty impressive race. One of the best races we've seen all season long when it came down to the wire. You and the 67 did an awesome job not touching each other, passing back and forth. He said you're much better in turn number 2, but what was the difference in your mind from first to second place?
Oh, I don't know. I did everything I could. We were our setups were so even. He was a little bit quicker on the straightaways than me, and I would try to gain a little bit where I could here and there. But I don't know. It's just he was just a better driver than me tonight. He was a little bit smoother. I think he was a little bit more in control. I struggled a little bit. The car didn't want to turn in the way I wanted it to. Not really sure how to set this car up for this track, but had speed, just not quite enough. And I think the driver liked a little bit tonight. But congrats to James. That was so much fun. It was an awesome race. Good clean racing. We never touched each other, and almost came to the line side by side there. So it was a lot of fun.
Hey, it looked like a lot of fun. I tell you what, for somebody that you say that the car wouldn't turn in the way that you wanted to, would you please explain how in the world you guys raced side by side like that for solidly the last 5 laps? And a lot of times you guys were neck and neck and right on each other's door panels. If your car was not handling the way that you wanted it to, man, you could have fooled me.
Yeah, you just you race with drivers that race with, drive you with respect. You do the same thing back with them, and there was no need. It's a big track. There's plenty of room. There's no reason to overdrive it, and you got to look at the big picture too. I certainly wasn't going to risk taking him out or myself, or getting damage or anything. It's a lot more fun to just race clean and may the better man win, and that was James tonight.
Yeah, it was a really close finish. And congratulations on that hard fought second place there. It's awesome to see when 2 guys can race that long, that close without any contact whatsoever. So just congratulations on that alone. But the floor is yours, man. Who's out there watching that you'd love to thank?
Just as always, thanks to Brody and the admins. Thanks to Mach1 Performance for their help with the league, and thanks to you guys for the awesome broadcast you've had all season. It's been a pleasure to watch it back, and you guys are some of the best out there. So just wanted to mention that for you, and we'll look forward to the next race.
Appreciate those really kind words there, Chuck. Yeah, congratulations once again. And yeah, we will see you at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 200.
All right, have a good night, guys.
You
man.
too.
That was second place finisher, Mr. Chuck Sweeting in that 75 Gator Racing Chevrolet Camaro. And Dustin, thoughts on tonight's race? It's some low points, but it comes to be with Pocono. But at the end, this track seems to always give us some good hard battles there.
Yeah, it usually always does, and that's a great thing about this. And Jeremy, you know as well as I that I typically haven't been a fan of this track. And it always drove you nuts every time we come here because I always dog this track. I'm like, I hate this track. But I tell you what, it's definitely a driver's track. We stated it before. There's no corners the same, no straightaways the same. It is a driver's track, and it is for as difficult as what it is. It poses some of the best racing that this sport can actually produce. And it just gets better and better, every time that they actually hold an event here. And Full Throttle Sim Racing did not disappoint. The Truck Series last Wednesday was a fantastic race. The race tonight was awesome. Excellent to see the 67 get in victory lane for the first time in the 2022 B season. So he's 2 for 2 in both seasons as far as that. So it's always great to see, a time like that, and especially in the manor. I mean, you can't get any better than that as far as side-by-side close racing for 5 straight laps like that, Jeremy, on a 2-mile track.
Yeah, I know the first part that you mentioned too. That's why they dub it the infamous tricky triangle, because no one can bring the perfect setup. Someone might excel a little bit better through those corners, but there's always that one corner that someone struggles. And I think that made or broke the difference there for the 75. But there's no other track in the world like Pocono, so you really don't have any notes to go off of unless you come back from last season, which is a whole new car. So you don't really have much of a notebook to kind of work your setup on. You kind of hope you just hit it right the first time, and the 67's James Wallace absolutely did so. But this is our time, as always, to close out the broadcast here for this fine Monday night. Not so much for us personally with illnesses, but outside of that, it was a fine race to watch. So first and foremost, as always, thank you to FullThrottleSimRacing.net. Get registered here if you're looking for one of the best leagues to sign up for. These guys are looking for drivers right now. Cup Series is running pretty strong with a consistent 20 drivers a week. So if you're looking to part of this exciting action, FTSR.net is your home. Mach1 Performance Cup Series sponsor. If you just go to their Facebook page, facebook.com/Mach1 Performance, see if they're in your area. If you have a car that needs some fabrication work done to it, this is your shop to go to, Mach1 Performance. Sim Racing Points. You'll find them every single Wednesday night as the presenting sponsor for the Truck Series, and they back the nerds as well. If you want your league to look professional with all the points and stats listed, this is your place to go, simracingpoints.com. Martin Sports, home of the Sim Gloves. I know Dustin Irie, he's already got it on his hand there. Some of the best gloves, actually the best gloves in all sim racing. But they make a lot of different stuff, and if you do customize orders, it's one of the fastest turn on the business, as long as FedEx is on your side. But outside of that, martinsports906.com, super nerd at checkout, 25% off. And shout out to iRacing iFlag as well, your flag marshaling system that backs the nerds. If you're looking to kind of complete your sim rig with a light system that kind of represents what they have on the catch fences of all these tracks, but in way more in-depth notifications, this is your place to go, iRacingIFlag.com.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to our audio enhancement partner, the Butt Kicker. Again, this is going to complete your rig along with the iRacing iFlag that you just got in those super awesome Martin Sports gloves. Kind of ties everything together. This is going to give you that feel in your seat. Every hump, bump, every rumble strip, every wall contact, every engine rev, you're going to feel it all with this product right here. Nothing like it else on the market. Definitely worth it. Again, check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Use that promo code NERDTV to save you a little bit of cash on checkout. I want to thank Moonlight Speed again for all of your paved setups. That is going from Advanced Legends all the way up to the cars you just seen run tonight, the next gen, then everything in between. They will assist you on getting those much needed W's. Again, constantly updating it. Fantastic community, both on social media and Discord. Check them out at moonlightspeed.com. On the flip side, for you dirt junkies out there, we got something for you as well. House of Speed is the place to be. That's houseofspeed.us. Everything that Moonlight Speed offers for paved, these fine folks offer for dirt. Dirt oval, sorry you rally racers out there, this is dirt oval only, but again, we'll give you the much needed W's out there that you are looking for. Again, check them out, houseofspeed.us. And finally, we want to thank our energy partner, Nerd Energy. Again, nerds support nerds, nerds go with nerds. What better way to do it? Again, 2 flavors. You got your green, that is your sugar flavor, and you got your blue, that is your sugar-free flavor. Both flavors taste fantastic. Will give you that extra energy you need without the crash of other leading energy drinks. Hence why it's called the Think Drink. Check them out at nerdfocus.com. Be sure to use promo code SUPERNERD to save you 10%.
That's going to bring the close to this broadcast this evening. We're going to catch you guys on Wednesday as the trucks tackle Lucas Oil Raceway, going to a short track here for these trucks, see if they can tame that half-mile speedway. Until then, guys, as always, I actually got the rest of the schedule there as we bring you out to a close. But as always, stay safe and to make sure to get your nerd on.
And as always, it is not goodbye, nerds. It is just till next time.